today is the day that the Canadian government is deciding if they're going to continue the COVID restrictions and the WhatsApp, the Arrive Canada. Today is a big day. Okay, let's see the Heilige Mishnah. Daf Ein Chesed Med Aleph Isha Shnafel. Sagt der Heilige Gemara. Isha Shnafel Chosen Ad Shelo Tizayis. A woman who received the Chosen, she yarshed, she won, she found, she acquired the Chosen before she was Nasara. She was completely a free agent, and she acquired these Nechasim. And then the Nasara Salah, she says, and then she accepted everything. So the question is, does she have full control over them to be able to sell them? Both Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai are moida shomecheres v'noisenes v'kayim. She could sell. She could sell, and she could give it away, and her mechira will work. So we haven't yet seen a machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, but the Mishnah is warning us machlokes up ahead. If she acquired the nechasim before her erison, they're completely hers. She completely controls them, and therefore, even after erison, she could sell and she can give away the property. How about nafla mishnasarsa? What if by the time she acquired these properties, she was already somewhat under control of her husband? So then, Beis Shammai says she can still sell, she's not allowed to sell. She should not sell. It's not the right thing to do. But Beis Hillel agrees to Beis Shammai that even though she shouldn't sell, if she did sell, Kayim, her mechira and the Messina remain standing. Rabbi Yehuda said, the Chachamim told Rabbi Gamliel, I don't understand. We say the husband was zoicha in his wife. Why? She had rusasai, right? He was obviously koiner. So lo yiska b'nechasim. She did not be zoicha in the nechasim. Now, what is the question? What precisely is the question here? The Gemara Mefarish Ahaymineu Kaimi. On what halacha that we just learned is Rabbi Gamliel, is the Chachamim speaking to Gamliel referring to? Is it Lachatchilu de Beis Shammai or Adiyeva de Beis Hillel? Is it asking a question? Why does Beis Shammai hold that nechasim that fell to her when she was a arusa? How could Beis Shammai say Timko she could sell it? Isn't he zoich in his wife? So he should be zoich in the nechasim. So therefore she shouldn't be able to sell it. Or maybe the kash is even on Beis Hillel, who says lo yisimkar, but with the evet the mechira works. Maybe that's what his kash is. How could you say the mechira is kayim? If he was zoich in his wife, he should have already been zoich in her nechasim. Amar lahem. So Rabbi Gamliel told them, I think you're wrong. Al hachadashim anubosh. We're embarrassed. Maro chachamim. So al hachadashim means even on the chacham should nafalo mishanisas. Even the chacham that fell to her after she was completely in her husband's control, that we say she could not sell them. On that anuboshim. Maro chachamim leimer imachav v'nasna baal moitzim b'adel chuchos. Why would the chacham have said that if she sells it, if she sells it, why should we say that? So why is it even a nesua? Why do the chacham say that her mechir is not good? So if we have it difficult to understand why even by a nesua she loses control over her nechasim, she can't sell them. We're also going to say that when she's in Arusa as well, her nechasim are out of her control. So that's why Rabbi Gamliel thought that it wouldn't be a good raya. Now we're speaking specifically, I should have made it clear, we're speaking here about nichsei molod, meaning nechasim that belong to her, that the husband eats to pay herself. So the gufa karka is always hers, and that's really what Rabbi Gamliel's time is. Al chadoshim anu boishim, be'etim the gufa karka belongs to her. Everyone agrees belongs to her. He only gets to eat the pears. So why is it? That if she sells it, she owns the guf? Why is it that we say it's not a good mechira? That's difficult enough for us to understand. We definitely shouldn't include even an arusa in this rule that she loses control over her nechas. So far we discussed nechasim that felt her when she was a free agent. Then we discussed nechasim that felt her when she was an arusa. Now we're going to go to the other extreme. Nafal mishanissus. What if the nechasim only fell to her after she was already tachas yad vaila, after she was already in the sewer? So then elu ve'elu moedim sai besil and sai beishamai agree shemacha v'nosna shabal moitzim yatl. There, everybody agrees that the Baal can take the nechasim back with l'gurus, meaning she cannot sell. What about taking a step back? Ad shalonissus v'nissus. What if she received the nechasim while she was in arusa, and then she became an asura? Like Rashi says, ad shalonissus kagod mishenes arsa. Either she received the nechasim when she was a free agent, or after her erison, and now she's nissus. No, the case immediately before this is the nechasim only came to her after she was nissus. Yeah, but she's selling it during the erison, not during the asura. The discussion in the Resha is she didn't become an asura. While she was in arusa, she sold it. Now we're discussing her selling it while she's in asura. So therefore, Rabbi Gamliel Omer, imachra v'nasna kai. Gamliel holds that even after Nesuin, if the nechasim fell to her before she was in Nesua, the mechir is kai. On that, Amar of Chanina ben Akavia, Chanina ben Akavia told him, Amar l'fnei Rabbi Gamliel, he said to Rabbi Gamliel, how could you say her mechir, her nesin is kayim? Since the husband was zoich in his wife, once she's in Nesua, lo yiska ben nechasim, should he not be zoich in nechasim? So how could she sell? How could she sell her property? And on that, Rabbi Gamliel answered back, Ala chadoshim anu boishim. We're uncomfortable about the fact that even the chosim that fall to her when she's already in a suah, the gufa karka belongs to her, yet we don't let her sell it. Ela shatem megalgalin say shadam. So you're even going to say the chosim that she received before the nesuah, even those you want to say that she shouldn't be able to sell. Period. Now we have a new halacha. Rab Shimon choylek bein nechasim lenechasim.
Why are they boishim?
Because it's she has the kinyan guf on the pairs. She has a kinyan guf on the karka. Just because he has a kinyan pairs, she has a kinyan guf. So why would they not let him? Why would they not let his mechir be mechira?
I'm just wondering about the ruling, like the ideology behind it. Like why are we boishim because of the chacham, right?
Because they're her nechasim. They belong to her. It's obviously some type of takana that we're not letting her sell them, right? But technically, it's hers.
And that takana, we're embarrassed.
We're embarrassed because we don't understand. It's difficult to accept. So you're asking the question: why is there a difference as to when she acquired a property? It's a good question. The Gemara is going to discuss that. Okay, so let's see the Gemara about her. Let's see the Mishnah about her. Shimon choylek bein nechasim l'nechasim. Shimon says not all nechasim were created equal. There are certain nechasim that she could sell, and there are certain nechasim that she can't sell. Nechasim ha'yidum l'baal, nechasim which are known to the husband, and we as yet don't know what that means. Lo timpar, those she cannot sell. But and therefore and v'machar v'nasna bottle, and if she's in a suah and she tries selling or giving them away, her nesina or her mechir is bottle. But ya'enam yidun l'baal. What about the nechasim that are not known to the husband? Those lechatchila she shouldn't sell, but v'machar v'nasna kayim in the mechir is kayim. So even though there are certain nechasim we say that she cannot sell, there are only nechasim that are known to the baal. Zok the Gemara. Ma'ishna Reisha the loy pligi, u'ma'ishna Seifa the pligi. Why is it that in the Reisha, meaning if the Nechasim came to her before she was in a suit, she was a free agent. There, even base hellos she could sell. And if the Nechasim came to her after she was Nasarsa, then there's a machlokes. And like Mati asks, why should it make a difference when she got to Nechasim? What's relevant is right now, is she in her husband's domain or not? What's the difference when she got these Nechasim? Amri devei Abyanai, Reisha bischusa naflo. In the Reisha, when she received his Nechasim, when she was a free agent, it was bischusa naflo. What does Rashi say? Bischusa naflo adayin lo yazakei b'shalom. He had yet no interest whatsoever in anything that belonged to her. V'loy ba'an on her. Elahi atma. She's a completely free agent. So when she acquires these nechasim, she acquires them strongly with a strong grasp and control over them because there was no other interest there. But Seifa b'schusay nafloy. When did she acquire these nechasim? While she was in Arusha, when she was already in his domain. B'schusay kfar zachabal u'v'nez chasar. He already has a grasp in her. So he will have a grasp in the nechasim that come to her. Frank the Gemara in b'schusay nafloy, if we're going to say that they fell in his domain because she acquired them only when she was in Arusa, well then kimachar v'nasna amai kayim. Why is it that everybody agrees that even if l'chatchila shouldn't sell, but everybody agrees that the mechira is kayim? Why is it if the nechasim fell to her b'schusay when he was in control of the situation? Elareisha vaday b'schusa naflo. We know that if the nechasim fell to her when she was a free agent, there's no subject that there's zero interest for anybody else other than her. She's the exclusive owner and control of these nechasim. So therefore, everybody agrees she should be able to sell it. Seifa, when she's in Arusa and she acquires nechasim, there's a suffix there. Eimar b'schusa. Maybe she's still a free agent because he's not zoichen anything that belongs to her until the nesuin. At the point of the Eirson, he wasn't yet zoichen anything. Or Eimar b'schusoi, maybe he does have a little bit of control because eventually she's going to become a nesuin. So therefore, the chatchila noisimkar, the chatchila she should not sell, but in machra v'nasna kayim. But if she sold, everybody agrees it would be valid her sale. Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda said, this is at the beginning of the Mishnah in the first case, it was said in front of Rabbi Gamliel that why would you say that she's not that her mechir is good? Why would you say that her mechir is good? The husband was already zoich in the wife. So we have a shaila on what halacha specifically were these comments going on. Rabbi Yehuda al-Chatchila is Rabbi Yehuda asking on Beishamai, how could you say the mechira is lechatchila? Or maybe he's asking both in Beishamai and Beisil, and he's asking why is b'di eved the mechira chal if the mechira shouldn't be chal? Because since she's in his rishus, so too her nechasim should be in his rishus. So that is our question. Tashma will bring you a raya from a brisa that, of course, when the brisa explains the Mishnah, the brisa always elaborates, and we get a better picture of what's going on. Tashma, the Tanya we learned in the brisa, elaborating on this conversation that went on. Amr Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, Amru lefnei Rabbi Gamliel. It was told to Rabbi Gamliel, Hoyel v'zu ishtai, the Baal, when she's in a Rusa, she's his wife, and when she's in a Sua, she's his wife. Zu machrabatul, the Nesua, we know her mechira is not valid. Afsu, so by the Arusa, we should say machrabatul. That was the time that came to her. Let's see Rashi. Nesua, Arusa, man Nesua, not to love nissays. Machrabatul kedikatani b'masnisin about moitzi, just like if the nechasim fell to her when she was already in the suah, and now she tries to sell them. Her mechira won't be chal. Avsu, so too nechasim shenaflu lok shahi arusa. Even though nechasim fell to her when she was in arusa, yeh mechrabatul. Weiter, her mecher should be bottled, even if she's only an arusa, because in both cases she is his wife. So why don't we say that her mechir should be bottled? That was what Chachamim told Rabbi Gamliel. Amr lahed. So rather than Rabbi Gamliel respond, al chadashim anubosh. We're not even comfortable that the chasam that fell to her when she's in the suah, that the mechira should be stopped. So what are we comparing it to? We're comparing it to after the Nisuin. After the Nisuin, what is the halacha? The mechir is bottled. So if the whole raya, the whole taina of the Chachamim Gamliel were that it should be no different than in the Nisuah, by Nisuah, the mechir is bottled. So Shmamina, the Eved Kamer Shmamina. We see clearly that the Chachamim's taina to Rabbi Gamliel was that the mechira should be bottled and gotten because it should be no difference than the mechira that was made after she was in the suah, where our Mishnah clearly says that the mechira is not valid. Let's see Rashi. Al chadashim sh'atem oimim alayim. On nun chasim that you say about them, mazu mecher bottle, just like on the suah, her mechira is bottle. Well, that gufa that her mechira is bottle. Although I agree to you that that's the halacha, but anu boishin. We're embarrassed by this halacha that it's bottle because we don't know why it's that way. And you want to extend this difficult halacha that her mechir is bottle and say mazu macher bottle, afzu macher bottle. So there, Shmamina, you see from him, afzu macher bottle. What was the lashon of the chacham? Afzu macher bottle. Just like a nesua who sells her mecher is bottle, so too an arusa who sells her mecher is bottle. Shmamina the Eved Nami kashalhu. You see clearly that was the argument that even according to Basil, who holds she shouldn't sell when she's an arusa, Basil agrees that if she did sell the mecher is kayim. On that, the Chacham Master Gamliel, the mecher should be bottle because it should be no difference than a nesua. And on that, Rabbi Gamliel answered, let's not extend a difficult halacha, which applies when she's in a suah, let's not extend that to when she's in a rusa. Tanya, we learned, Amar Rab Chanina ben Akavia. Because if you look at our Mishnah, you'll notice that there's two times this taina was mentioned to the Chachamim. There was in the first case, when we're talking about an Arusa, and then it's Rabbi Yehuda who cited this conversation. But later on in the Mishnah, when we're talking about an Nesua, you have Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia, who cited a similar or same conversation that occurred discussing the Nesua. So the Gemara is going to explain what's been going on. Why did one person cite this conversation by the Arusa, Rabbi Yehuda, and Chanina ben Akiva cited it by the Nesua. So Tanya, Amar Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia, Loi kach heshiva Rabbi Gamliel l'chacham. This answer that Rabbi Gamliel said, Al chadashim anu boishim, so you want to extend it further, he didn't give that response when we were talking about an Arusa. He only gave that response where I quoted him when we're talking about an Nesua. Because when we're talking about an Arusa, he had a much better taina to knock off the Chachamim suggestion that just like a Nesua, the Mechir is not Kayim, so too by an Arusa, the Mechir shouldn't be Kayim. Elakach Yeshivan, this is what he answered when in the Reish of the Mishnah, when the Chachamim suggested that even an Arusa, even her sale shouldn't be valid. And he answered there, Lo yimamartim b'nesua, why by Nesua did Chazal say that her Mecher is not Kayim? Shekein baile zakai b'mitzuyasa u'ma'isiyadeh u'ba'afarish l'darel. By Nesua, the husband has many more rights in his wife. So it's logical to say that he also controls her transactions, and therefore when she sold her nichsan alug, the mechir wouldn't be valid. You want to extend that to an arusa? Tayru b'arusa she'ein baile zakai loy b'mitziyasa v'loy b'ma'isiyadeh v'loy ba'afarish l'darel. He doesn't have such interest in his wife when she's only in arusa as he would have when she's in nesua. So that's a much starker taina than saying, well, we don't like nesua, why should we apply it to arusa? Even if you like nesua, there's a huge difference between arusa and nesua. By nesua, he has much more control over. Amruloi. So they responded back to him, okay, Mochra Achaloi Nisas. That explains if she sold it before she became a Nesua, before he had all this control in her, before he was able to be made for her Nidarim, before he had her Metzias, before the Maishidayim, there I understand the distinction. There I hear not to ask the Kasha why she could sell because she's an Arusa. But what about Nisas, the Achach Mochra? What about in a case where she acquired in the Chasam before she became a Nesua? Rashi says either before she became an Arusa or while she was an Arusa, but before she became a Nesua. Then she became a Nesua, and then she sold it. Now, what would you say over there? What would you say over there? Because over there, by the time she's selling it, she is under his control. Legabe Ma'aseh, legabe First Adarm, legabe Mitzia. So maybe there as well, he should be able to stop that Mechira. Amalahu, he answered, Afzu Macharas v'naisenas v'kaim. I hold, even if she's in the Nesua, as long as she acquired in the Chosim before she became a Nesua, there as well, the Mechira is Kaim. And on that, he told him, the Chum told him back, Amruloi, Hoyel v'zacha bi'isha, lo yiska b'nechosim. After she's in the Nesua, even though she received in the Chosim earlier, but once he was zeichen her completely, he controls her Ma'aseh, he controls her Afaras Adorim, he controls her Mitzia. Should she not also be subject to his control, agabe that field? And on that, where he couldn't make any more distinction between an Arusa and an Nesua, on that, Gamaliel responded, even if she first acquired the Nechasim when she was in the Nesua, even that is hard to understand, because she still owns the Gufa Karka. Why can't she sell it? And now you want to extend it to where she was koined even before she was in the Nesua? That I don't want to do. So that was the conversation. Let's see Rashi. Like Achishivim, the Oid Shadonu the fun of the Moicheres Ba'oid Arusa in the Reish of the Mishnah, where the discussion was if she sold everything while she was only in Arusa, that was the discussion. There he didn't need to say a Shvachatayna back about the Chadoshim Anu Boishim Eloshat Magal Kabbalah, because he has a much better teretz. Like a chutzrach l'shivam al chadoshim on the boishim, shari tshuva netzachas iskan. He has a much better tshuva that he did say. Sheyesh lahafrish bin arusa l'nesua. There's a very big difference between an arusa and a nesua. That would explain why by a nesua she cannot sell, yet by an arusa she can sell. The chein yeshiva on Allah, and in fact that's what Rabbi Gamliel responded. Lo imamartem, you just because you say by a nesua she cannot sell, because the husband controls her completely, but by an arusa where the husband does not have rights, but levadai, he cannot be made for the neder by himself when she's an arusa, unless he's doing it in conjunction with her father. It's not a view by the maternity. So Amrullah, they told him, Rabbi, Machar Achalanissis, we understand if she sold it before she became an asua, near in Dvarecha, then we'll agree with you that she's only an arusa when she sold. If she's only an arusa when she sold, you have the taina. Her husband doesn't control her ma'aseh, doesn't control her mitzias, doesn't control her nadarim. So it's logical to say she should be able to sell. That's what macheres by darusa. Well, what about nizas v'acharach mocher? What if when she sold, she's already in nesua, and then she sold nechasim shenaflu law koidim nesuin, nechasim that fell to her before the nesuin ma'u, what would Allah be? And on that, Rabbi Gamliel responded, Amalem avzu mocheres v'kayim. This woman who's in nesua, since she received these nechasim before she became a nesua, we say she has enough control over them, and if she sells them, her mechir will be kayim. Amrullah, they told him, Hoyel v'zacha b'isha, l'mitziyasa, l'ma'asidea, ba'afaras nedareha, even though she acquired these nechasim before her nesuin, but once she's in nesua, he's in total control of her, for her mitzias, her ma'asidayim, and her first nedareha. So therefore, the argument is, lo yiska b'nechasim, should he not also be zoicha in her nechasim? Shetiknu lechal perisem b'chayah. Right? They made a takana that nichsim aluk nechasim to belong to her. He has the schus in them to their parents. So if that's the case, how could we allow the mechira to remain intact? And on that he answered, it's bad enough that nechasim that she only acquired when she was in a suah, that there you're preventing her from selling them, don't extend that difficult gzeira to nechasim that she acquired before she was in the suit. So what is the lashon of this brisa? This is a long brisa that's quoting the conversation. So what is the conversation? The question is, with the Chachamim asked Rabbi Gamliel, a woman who acquired nechasim before she was in a suah, and then she got married, what would halacha be? And what does it say in the brisa? To me, that sounds very much like lechatchila. She's a chatchila, a lot of sell, and it'll work. If you look in our Mishnah didn't express it in the lashon of lechatchila. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, im machra b'di eved, if she sold, v'nasna b'di eved, if she gave it away, then it's kaim. But lechatchila she can't sell. So we have a difference in Rabbi Gamliel. The Mishnah seems to say that Rabbi Gamliel says that she should not be selling once she's in a suah, even the chasim that she acquired before she was in the suah. But if she sells it with the eved, it will be a good mechira. But from the lashon of Raisa, it's mashma avzu moicheres for nesenes v'kayim. It's mashma the lechatchila. She's allowed to sell. So what is pshat in Rabbi Gamliel? Rabbi Zvid, Dr. Zvid, tani moicheres for nesenes v'kayim. Let's change we have a stima here between the Brisa and the Mishnah. Let's change the wording of the Mishnah because of the Brisa and say that in the Mishnah it should also say a lashon of lechatchila. That's how Rashi looks. Tosfos asks, since when does the Mishnah defer to the Brisa? Shouldn't the Brisa defer to the Mishnah? So Tosfos has some other kashas as well, and Tosfos says, Tani in the Brisa, im mochra or nasna, it's kayim. So change the Brisa to a lashon di'eved. Don't change the Mishnah to a lashon of lechatchila. Papa said anyway, it's not a kasha because the Mishnah is Rabbi Huda Libeder Gamliel. When the Mishnah quotes these words, so let's go back to the Mishnah inside. We know the beginning of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda Libeder Gamliel talking, because it's Rabbi Yehuda who brought up the conversation regarding Arusa. Now, when Rabbi Chanina gets into the picture, Rabbi Chanina says by Arusa wouldn't have been a kasha at all, right? Because an Arusa is not in the hands of Rabal. So Rabbi Chanina only quoted this conversation of the Chadashim referring to Nesua. But there's one case that's sort of in between, and that is Ad Shalai Nisis, V'Nisis, Rabbi Gamliel Omer Imrachra V'Nosna Kayim. That's the Lashon Di'evid that we quoted. So this Lashon Di'evid, Zokt Rav Papa, is not going according to Rabbi Chanina. This Lashon B'Di'evid is only going according to Gamliel. But Rabbi Chanina, his understanding of Rabbi Gamliel is in fact that it's even L'chatchila. That's how Rav Papa wants to learn. Zokt Rav Papa inside. Rav Papa Amar L'Kasha Ha Rabbi Yehuda Aliba de Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Yehuda Aliba de Gamliel holds that it's only b'di'evet, like the Mishnah says, im machar v'nosna kayim. Ha Rabbi Chanina v'nekavya Aliba de Rabbi Gamliel. But the second half of the Mishnah and the Brisa, which elaborates in explaining what was going on, holds in fact that even l'chatchila, if she acquires nechasim when she is an arusa or before, even when she becomes an asua, l'chatchila, she is allowed to sell. Frank the Gemara, let's think about this. Rabbi Chanina ben Akavya is Kivei Shammai. He seems to be saying like Kivei Shammai because he's learning in Rabbi Gamliel that l'chatchila it's moicheres v'noisenes. Who is the only one who we quoted who holds that l'chatchila you're allowed to sell? That was Beis Shammai. So are we going to say that Rabbi Gamliel is going to leave it to Beis Shammai, which we know is Shaloi Aliba de Hilchazah? No. He argues on the whole first part of the Mishnah. And he holds that he's going to hold that there is no machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Everybody agrees that even by Nesul, the Chatchila you can sell. So he argues on Rabbi Yehuda's understanding of the machlokes, and he holds no machlokes. You quoted a machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. I disagree. There's no machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Everybody holds that Chatchila. Zok the Gemara, Rav Shmuel, what do they hold? Rav Shmuel, Amar Tavayu, Bein Shenafilu Nechasim, At Shaloi Nisarsa. Say if she has nechasim, she acquired these nechasim when she's a free agent, Bein Shenafilu Nechasim, Misha Nisarsa, or even if she only received these nechasim once she was in a rusa, and then Vinisis, and then she married, Habal moitzi miyad lekuchos. There, not only is it not a mechira lechatchila, even by the evid, it's not a good mechira. Come on, who is Rav and Shmuel consistent with? The loik Rabbi Yehuda, who the loik Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia. It doesn't sit with Rabbi Yehuda, nor does it sit with Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia, because both of them hold that at least according to Rabbi Gamliel, it's a good sale. Zok Rashi. There is no Rashi on it. There's no Rashi on it, but this will not stem. Right? Rabbi Shmuel says that Aval Moitzim Yad L'Kuchos will not stem, not according to Rabbi Yehuda, and not according to Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia, because they both hold that the Mechira would work with him. Zok to Gemara, who do they hold like? In the Amrei, Rabbi Shmuel must be holding to Rabbi Seinu, like Rabbi Seinu, who have a third shita. The Tanya Rabbi Seinu Chazru v'Nimnu. Rabbi Seinu came to a conclusion. Ben shenafalo achalot yisarus. Say if these nechasim fell to her when she was a free agent, uben shenafalo mishenasarsa, or if they fell to her while she was on a rusa, but before she became an asua, and then v'nises, and then she became an asua. Habal moitzi miyara lakuchos. The baal could be moitzi miyara lakuchos, which is of course a third shita. It doesn't stem not like Rabbi Kiva's understanding, not like Rabbi Yehuda's understanding of the Brisa and of the Mishnah, and not like Rabbi Chanina and Kavi's understanding, because they both agree that by the Eved the Mechira would be Chal, and here the Rabbanim are saying that the Mechira will not be Chal at all, and that's a Rabbi Shmuel Pasuk.
Wasn't the school that when she's still a free agent, she can't sell? No.
Here she only sold when she was in a sewer. The shal is when she acquired the nechassim. So if it's v'nisses, it's only if it's v'nisses. Habal moitzi miyad l'chuchos. Only if it's nisses. Correct. Mishanisses elu v'elu moedim. So what does the Mishnah say? If she acquired the nechassim when she was nisses and she sold it when it was nisses, then elu v'elu moedim shemachar v'nasna shabal moitzi miyad l'chuchos. Right, that's the only place where everyone in the Mishnah agrees. Right, remember Rabbi Seinu, and this is Rabbi Gamliel, and this is Rabbi Chanina ben Akavia, Nebuda. There, everybody agrees. Dafka, if she acquired the nechassim, which is when she was nissus already, but if she acquired the nechassim before she was nissus, then there could be a tzad that it is chal. It's only Rabbi Shmuel who holds that even then the mechira is not chal. But in a case where the nechasim were acquired after the nisuin, everybody agrees that the mechir is not chal. Zog to Gemara, Lema, Tanina l'tekanasusha. This seems like our Mishnah is telling us the halacha of tekanasusha. Why would there need to be a tekanasusha if already in the times of the Tanaim that was the halacha? What is the tekanasusha? Rabbi Yosy bar Chanina taught us the Usha skinu, in the Usha they were mesakin, that a woman had a field that her husband was eating the pears, but the field belonged to her. And while she was alive, while her husband was alive, she sold the field. So now the husband that can't eat the pears anymore, she sold it. Umesa, and then she died. Habal moitzi miyad l'kuchos. The Baal could go now and take the field away from the lekuchos. So that seems to be what our Mishnah is saying, that once she's nissus, she can't sell it anymore. So isn't that what the Tekanos Usha was? So to Gemara, no. Mas Nisan is b'chaya u'leperis. When the Mishnah says that her mechira is not a good mechira, that's only while she's alive, while she's still tachas paila, and it's telling us that he still gets to eat the pears even though she sold the field. So Rashi Masnisha b'chaya, Ka'amar, that's what our Mishnah is talking about. Habal moitzi kidei lechol pears b'chaya. He could only take the field back because he still has the right to eat the pears. But let me finish. But from our Mishnah's perspective, once she would die, the field will go back to the lekach. Once she dies, she's not married to him anymore, and therefore there's no chiyah for her to give him pears for her karka, and therefore her mechira goes back to the lekach. Even if she dies in his lifetime, the Baal won't her kinyan aguf because she sold that. So from our mission, you just see that since he has a right to the Paris, he can seize the karka back from the lekach and eat the Paris while he's married to her. The moment that marriage breaks up, her mechir is now chal. That's what our Mishnah is teaching us. But Usha, the Kalas Usha was the gufa shel karka lachamisa. The Kalas Usha is that even the karka itself he gets to keep and he gets to take back from the lekukos. And therefore, here we go. But also Usha, the Tikkun that came along in Usha, and they were Masakin, Tafilu Gufa Shal Karka Yerishabal. Even the Karka itself, the Baal can go take away from the Gufas.
Take it away after she dies.
Well, he's already taking it before. He's already taking it before to eat the pears. The Chiddush is that he doesn't have to give it back to them after she dies or after the marriage ends. So it's not really relevant that he's going first to take it after she dies. He had taken it already. Correct. He's already taking it before. The Mishnah already told him while she's alive, you can go take it. And then Usha says, and Usha said, and now when she dies, you can keep it. You took it already for the Paris while she was alive, and now you don't have to give it back to them because in Usha they said he gets to keep it for the Kinegah. Reb Shimon made this interesting distinction between what type of nechosim they were as to whether or not she could sell them. So Zoktim or Elohen Yeduin, which we say she cannot sell, which the husband controls, Ve'elohen she'en Yeduin, and these are the nechosim that are not Yeduin that she wouldn't be able to sell. Zoktim Gemar, Yeduin are Makarki, any assets that she has that's karka, her husband controls and she cannot sell. And Rashi says, Yeduin Makarkali, Bamanas Oishin Nechosim Nasa. He married her for her money. He married her because he wanted to be able to get control of her karkoyas. That's why mechra batel. That's why her sale is batel. He was waiting for when is my wife going to drop dead so I can yasher these karkoyas that she owed. I paid my dues. I lived with her all these years. Now finally I can get my payout. What are metaltalin doing that we don't say the husband's relying on? Those are metaltalin, and therefore she could sell them and her sale would be valid. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Elu ve'elu Yedunim. Both karka and metaltalin are considered Yedunim. What does Rabbi Shimon mean when he made this distinction between the Chosim Yedunim and non-Yedunim? Ve'elam shen Yedunim, kol she'yisheves kan v'naflu al nechosim v'medina seyah. Any property that she owns where she lives in that city, that's Yedunim, that the husband can prevent the sale for. But if she owns property halfway around the world, there he wouldn't control it anymore. Tanya Nami Haki. We learned in the Brisa, Elu Hein Shein Yeduim Kol Sheisheves Kan V'Naflu Nechosim V'Medina Asaya. Let's see the Gemara Bite. Hahid said the boy Tivrechinu L'Nichsei Migavra. There was an almana. She was a grusha. She was a free agent, and she owned property, and she wanted to remarry a man. But in the event that her marriage wouldn't last, she didn't want her husband to be able to take her karkois. So she wanted to make all of her assets husband-proof. Rashi says the boy she was an almana, and she wanted to remarry, but so what she did was she gifted all of her assets to her daughter, so that when she marries the husband, she's penniless. This is their version, I guess. To prevent him from getting his hands on them. But when she gave this gift to her daughter, she said, I don't really want to give it to my daughter. I just want to use my daughter so that my husband won't have access to the nechasim. It's not a real matana. I only gave it to her lavriach to prevent my husband from getting it. But not that she should really you should really get them imtis alman he or discouraged. What if her marriage breaks up? She wants it all back. She's not really giving it to his daughter. So he entered the boy to listen to and what did she do? Because she wrote over all of the chasam to her daughter, and then she got married. The English she got divorced, and now she wants to go take her properties back that she wrote in a star, and she gave it to her daughter. Also, like Hamed Rab Nachman, so she came with the star to Rab Nachman. I guess her daughter double-crossed her and didn't want to give her back those nechasim that she gifted to her. So Rab Nachman, she came to Rab Nachman, and they showed the star. They showed the star that she gave it to the daughter, and the daughter wanted to use that star to make the claim and to keep the karka. Kare Rav Nachman was star. Rav Nachman just tore the star up. Rav Nachman tore it up. So Rav Anan was very unhappy with Rav Nachman's reckless regard for the star, and he just tore it up. So he went to snitch to Mar Ukva. Remember, before we also said that Mar Ukva was the one who Rav Anan sent to. Remember, Rav Anan sent to Rav Huna, and Rav Huna was upset, and Rav Huna went so Rav Anan went to Mar Ukva to ask him what to do. So also Rav Anan made the Mar Ukva. Rav Anan once again went to Mar Ukva. That was his go-to guy. Amalei Chazi Mar Nachman Chakla Heichi Mikra Shtar Dinshi. Look at Nachman, the farmer. He doesn't know what he's doing. He tears up stars. How can he do something like that? So once again, Mar Ukva was very thorough. I need to hear more of the story. I guess you knew Rav Anan would tell him half a story and they come with problems. Tell me the whole story. Spill it out. Let me hear what he said. This is exactly what happened. You're not talking about a regular star where she really wanted to give it away. You're talking about a star where she's only trying to avoid her husband from getting his hands on it. So I have a right to paskin, and I'm saying, if a star marveches came to me, I would tear it up because it's not a real nesina. She's only giving it to save herself from her husband, and therefore it's completely legitimate what Rav Nachman did to tear up the star. Oh, that's what the Gemara asks now, but it's 6:35 and Slichas is in 5 minutes, so we'll stop here and we'll continue the Gemara. But the Gemara explains how it works. What the Gemara ends up saying is, I'll do a spoiler. Is we had at the end of the Mishnah, Nechasim Yidum, Nechasim She'en Yidum. The Rabbanan make it like Nechasim She'en Yidum. That's all they do. So they use that loophole to prevent them from getting it. So really, it's not a good matana. Really, it's not a good mechira. It's not a good matana to the daughter. So it's not a good matana like Doviash. So then he has access to it. No, they treat it now like Nechasim She'en Yidum. Why? Because she already hid it. Why is it not a good matana?
It's like selling comments on her place.
Oh, so no, because she's not buying it back from her daughter. If you sell chametz in her place and the guy comes to take the chametz, you have to give it to him.
If you give him as matana, it's just as good. No.
You give it to who as a matana? The guy? Yeah, but then it's the guy. He didn't come take it. That's what happened over here. The daughter wanted to come take it.
Problem is that if this fellow,
That's the whole problem. The problem is the daughter wanted it. The daughter says, "No, you gave it to me. I want it."
problem is that if this fellow knows that the halacha is that the legal